Talk. Welcome to the Friday night Inner Space Talk, and today's talk is being true to yourself. And we've got Stefanía. She's joining us from Iceland, and she's going to explore with us what it means to be fearless and relentlessly true to ourselves. I just love that concept. Being true to ourselves is a popular phrase. And it's being promoted to establish inner happiness, authenticity, and making a meaningful impact. But how do we determine what is our truth? And how are we being true to ourselves? Because we could be kidding ourselves, right? So how do we not kid ourselves, but understand what it means in an empowering way? So Stefanía will be sharing some insights in this topic. So let me introduce our speaker. She's a musician. She is a viola specialist. She's played in the Icelandic Symphony Orchestra, the National Orchestra. She is the deputy headmaster at the Reykjavik College of Music, and quite young, you can see, so very, very talented. And she also, on the side, runs a company that specializes in creating meditation content for children to be used in schools and in family. So really very creative, but very broad spectrum that she covers in her life. So Stefanía is going to be sharing with us for about 30-40 minutes. And then the questions you send in will be the ones that we pose to her. You send in the question via the question and answer link, and then I will take those questions and put them to Stefanía on your behalf. And between the questions and Stefanía's talk, there's going to be a short meditation that Stefanía is going to lead us through. So Stefanía, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Artie. And thank you so much for inviting me to today's talk. It's a wonderful opportunity to be with you. And this theme that I was asked to speak on, it was actually, I didn't choose the theme, but when Artie came up with this theme and asked me if I would be happy to be with you here tonight and speak on this theme, and I started to reflect on it more and more. I really enjoyed going more into the depth of this theme of being true to the self. And I realized that actually during my life journey, both the spiritual journey, you could say, since the time I started to meditate, which is quite some years from now, but also actually my whole life, this has been a theme. It has really been a theme in my life about exploring how I can be more true to myself. And I guess this has been a theme because I know so well how not to be true to myself. I mean, that's something I've experienced very much also in my life. So I think for many of us, there may be like a theme or some aspect that comes up again and again and again. In life situations, life presents us with things that are for us to really look inside. And I see, what I have to work on in myself to grow as a person. And it may be different themes for different people. So this theme of being true to the self is definitely one of the major themes in my life. And I felt that during my life that I've often been crossroads, when I've had to kind of pause and reset myself, reset my inner compass so that I can be in alignment with myself. And there have been several moments like this throughout my life. And actually now is again one moment in my life because some change is happening in my life. And I again feel that it's an opportunity to pause and to see, what is it that I really want. Maybe a little bit of my background as it helps to maybe understand where I'm coming from when I speak about this theme is that I grew up in a typical Icelandic family, mother and father and two younger siblings. And I was always the good girl. From a very young age, I kind of took on the responsibility of the eldest child. And I was responsible, I was very good, I was very efficient. I was, I performed well at school, the teachers were happy with me, and I did everything according to the rules. The rules of the teachers, the rules of my parents, even the rules of my friends. Even within my friend context, I wasn't really expressing my own voice, but I was more making sure that I fitted in nicely. I said the right things at the right time. So I think I may have been a bit extreme even in just fitting in and being nice and pleasing everyone. I know that very well. And I remember when I graduated from college, I was rewarded. I got reward for a good school results. And I went to the headmaster to get my reward, some books or something I got. And I remember just thinking while I was walking to him to get the reward, I thought, if he only knew that I feel like I've forgotten everything that I studied. Because even at school, this was in college, I felt like I was so much just trying to be good, trying to get good grades. I was very good at putting all the knowledge into my head, into my brain, and pouring it out onto the exam paper and getting high grades. But then I would just kind of forget it because I wasn't really interested. So I knew how to play the rules according to the rules of society and school. I knew it very well, and I managed. And then when I was 22 years old, I started meditating. And again, that was actually of a real interest to me. The meditation and this inner work was of real interest. But still, I had this habit of playing according to the rules of others. So I was still went into the trap of pleasing others and just being a good student also. Being a good meditation student. And my meditation teachers were also pleased with me, and everyone was happy except myself. There came a point some years later when I had actually been practicing meditation myself. I had even been teaching meditation for some years, when I had like something crushed inside me. I don't know if you can use that word in English, but anyway, something like really broke inside me. And I was feeling depressed. I was feeling very weak inside, and I didn't know at all why this was happening to me. Because I was doing all the right things. I was making all the right decisions. I was, everyone was pleased with me. And yet I was feeling very empty. And I was feeling very disconnected from myself. And this was actually a shift. It was bad enough. The feeling was bad enough for me to pause and really ask myself, what's happening? I can't live like this. And I remember we had a meditation teacher come from abroad, from England. And it was around this time, and she was giving a workshop to a few of us, and we each of us got a question to ask ourselves: what do I really want? This was the question I got at that time. What do I really want? And I just remember sitting with this question and almost crying, because I just realized I hadn't really asked myself deeply this question. I just carried on in life doing what I thought I was supposed to do, and one school after another school, and I just kind of carried on. But without really pausing and just asking myself, what is it that I want in my life really? If I put aside what everyone else thinks, what everyone else says, what is it that I want? And from that moment, things started to shift for me, and I started to take more and more steps towards the aim of being true to the self. I'm definitely not there yet. I still have many steps to take on the way, but I am taking those steps, and I am more conscious of myself, and I'm not more conscious of the signs or signals that life shows me, or my feelings show me when I'm a bit off track with this. So I thought before going further, I would just like to share with you these signs. Those of you who are watching the screen can see this, but I will also read it out loud. I put up 2 lists of what are the indicators for me that I'm either being true or not being true to myself. And I think our feelings are such a great indicator. And it's like if you get some ache in your body, you get stomach ache, or you get some pain in your body, you know that it's telling you that you have to do something differently. It's like if I have pain in my back or in my neck, you know, I know that I have to change the way I position myself, or I have to change something. I cannot just carry on like I've been doing until now. And with the physical body, it's so obvious. But with my feelings, it's easier to ignore somehow. It's easier to go on for a long time, feeling, you know, not so well inside, and yet just carrying on without pausing and without making the necessary changes. And when I think about being true to myself, these are the indicators that really tell me that I am actually being true to myself. The first indicator I put down there is contentment. And then if I'm not being true to myself, the opposite would be sadness. And I feel contentment when I'm being true to myself. I will feel a deep sense of contentment and satisfaction that doesn't come from anything external, but is really something I feel from within. Because I'm playing my role in life, I'm playing the part I'm supposed to play in life in alignment with myself. And it's like I feel that I'm actually doing what I'm meant to be doing in this life. And for me, at least for me personally, that has always been important. I like to feel that I'm living my life in a beautiful way, in a meaningful way. You know, otherwise I will feel sad, definitely. And then I put down this word confidence. And this confidence is not about being like externally very confident necessarily, but it's about the quiet inner confidence that comes from being truthful. For me, confidence and truth are like very close, and confidence, like real confidence. Many people know how to put up fake confidence and like act like they're very confident, but actually being insecure within. But real confidence comes from when I'm being truthful and I'm being true. I'm not hiding anything, and I'm just revealing myself to other people also as I am, not trying to look like something I'm not, or be like something I'm not. But if I'm not true to myself, there will be insecurity. And I will feel that a part of me is a little bit like fake. That's a feeling that I know well personally. When I feel a bit fake, I feel like, you know, I look like something, but internally I'm actually insecure. So those are all indicators that show me, you know, am I being true to myself or not? Contentment, confidence, then I put down self-respect. And when I see people who are, or observe people who are being true to themselves, I love observing such people. And I can feel how that awakens within me respect for them. It's so easy to respect people who are true to themselves. I may not be agreeing with everything they say or do, or their opinions and ideas, not necessarily. But if they're true to themselves, normally it's easy to respect them. It's easy to respect that. So if I am being true to myself, I will also more easily be able to have self-respect. I will respect myself much more when I am being true to myself. Whereas if I'm not being true to myself, you can see in the other list, the opposite is feeling weak. It's feeling like the energy is a bit low, it's a bit dull perhaps. And it's like, I don't respect myself as I should or as I could. And then a very clear indicator, the next one on the list, is feeling connected. This is for me a very clear indicator if I'm being true to myself. When I'm being true to myself, I feel very connected with myself. And I've observed that my connection with others and my connection with the life around me, actually, life situations, it's according to how connected I am with myself. It's like a reflection of my connection with myself. And I remember I experienced this in a very powerful way. This was during a conference. I mean, I've experienced it often, but there was one incident where it was so clear. I was attending a conference, the Spirit of Humanity Forum, which is a conference that happens in Iceland every second year. And I was attending that. It's for leaders about values, how to bring values to the forefront of our societies. So it was interesting. And during the days that the conference was happening, I just happened to feel very much connected with myself. I was very much in my power somehow, and I just felt authentic and real. And yes, just this connection with the self. And I remember feeling such special connection with everyone I met. And those were people, most of them I had never seen before. They were from many countries all over the world, from all continents, people from all over. And there was just this genuine connection, like meeting souls or brothers or sisters that I almost knew, although I had never met them before. And I could see how me being connected with myself made it so easy for me to connect with others. I also know the other side of this, definitely. I also know, when I'm not connected with myself and I'm not in tune with myself, it's hard to connect with others. And my interactions are a bit superficial, artificial, a bit shallow. And, that's just because I'm not in tune with my own truth. So I can see it reflected clearly reflected in my relationships and my interactions, whether I'm being true to myself or not. And then the last thing on this list is the blossoming of the self, which is also a sign for me of when I'm being true to myself, the self can blossom. And I can really bring out the best of my potential, and I can be free to be. I can be free to express who I really am. Whereas if I'm not being true to myself, I will feel a bit flat. And I will feel a bit like this mental tiredness, not even physical tiredness, but this inner dullness, I would say. So these were just some signs of, being true to the self or not being true to the self. And I was also thinking, I was reflecting on this theme, and I was thinking about people who seem to be true to themselves. And I could see there were like different ways of that, like almost like different categories. Because when thinking about just human history, there have been many powerful people who have had clear ideas or opinions about how they thought something was supposed to be. And they just went for it. Like no self-doubt, they just went for it. Very powerful in their own opinions and ideas. But sometimes that has led to horrible things. I'm thinking about people like dictators or like, people in human history. I'm not going to mention any names, but I think we can all think of some people who have really caused a lot of harm. You could say in a way that they were true to their own ideas. They may not have listened to anyone else actually, and they just went for what they thought was truth, what they thought was good, but it may have harmed many others. So, and this can also be it can cause a lot of harm, or it can just be in terms of, the ego taking over. So that's why it can be a bit tricky sometimes to know when am I being true to myself and when am I being true to the ego. Yeah, I can see there is a question. Maybe we can take it up also afterwards and when the questions are. Very good question. We'll take it a bit later. So this thing about, letting the ego, I know this also myself, and I've had to learn, throughout the years, especially after I started to meditate, this became clearer to me. We use a word in Iceland. It's not Icelandic, and maybe you use it as well. I think it's German, and we say besserwisser. We say that, I am a besserwisser, or someone is a besserwisser. And it means that, the one who always knows best. It's having the feeling that I always know best, actually. I may not always express it or say it, but actually the feeling inside me is that I know best. I know better than they. And sometimes we could misunderstand being true to the self, to being true to those opinions or ideas that I may have. But for myself, at least, I realized that so often my ideas are just not the best. So often when I start talking with people and I share my ideas, they share their ideas, there is something in both. And, it's not that I always know best, of course not, but it's good to be honest with the self and to really see this and to recognize that, it's not being true to the self. It's not about not listening to anyone else and just going with, what I feel is right. No, we do have to listen to others. And often the best result is a mixture. It comes through cooperation and sharing of opinions. So what do we then mean when we say, being true to the self? What are we actually talking about? Being true to what? And how do I know who I am? And, what is my true self? That can be a tricky one. And maybe before we go into that definition, I guess there are many definitions, but I will work with one definition now tonight. Maybe before we go into that, just to also have a look at being true to the self, what would be the opposite? Just because it's good to be clear about those things so that I can recognize them more clearly within myself. And when I was exploring this for the past weeks, there was one word that stood out for me as the opposite of being true to myself. And that was the word subservience. And when observing myself and seeing how I act when I'm not being true to myself, there is always the feeling of subservience of one kind or another. And I think we all know this. I'm sure that you who are listening, you probably also resonate with that if you came to a lecture with this theme. I mean, it's a feeling that we know and we don't really like it. We don't like being subservient. And for me personally, I can think of especially many things in my life, many times, many occasions where I have been subservient. But one is when I'm with people in relationships or connections, interactions, and I go into the pleasing mode. And I try to create myself, make myself according to what I think the other would like me to be. And this pleasing is, of course, it's not something that we don't want to go into that, fall into that trap, definitely not. But I think most of us probably know it. When we are not in our full power and I say yes when I actually wanted to say no, or I'm not being totally honest with myself or with the other one, and I'm suppressing myself, subservience and suppression. It's suppression of the self. And I'm not allowing myself just to be, how I am. And another situation that I can think of in terms of situations, one is in relation with people, but then also in relation with life situations. One word or one condition that has become very common in Iceland, I don't know about the UK, but I guess you know it very well as well. And that's the condition of burnout, feeling exhausted. And I haven't been through burnout myself, luckily, but I know the feeling of going into that direction, being almost close to it, or really like, overdoing, overworking, really putting too much burden, overloading myself. That's something I know. So I can also be subservient to tasks. It's like I can let tasks take over my life. So I become like a slave to my job or to the tasks that I feel that I need to accomplish. So I can feel very drained. And I can go into the second list that you saw before, of feeling sad, feeling mental tiredness, feeling weak. All of those signals are signaling me that I'm not being true to myself. I'm being subservient on one level or another. But for me, I'll share with you another image here. The root cause of my subservience to other people or situations is that on some level, I am being subservient to my own weaknesses. This was actually a realization that I had recently. Although I've been thinking about this for a long time, but it became clearer to me recently. How subservience to my own weaknesses is the root cause. It's not about the other people or situations in my life, but it starts with me. And what do we mean? Like if I just take the examples that I spoke about before, like an example that I know very well is the people pleasing that I mentioned. And I see that when I start people pleasing, and there was especially one incident, there was a friend of mine who was like a mentor for me, and she meant a lot to me, but I was always trying to please her. I was always trying to do, what she would like me to do. And at one point I just couldn't do it anymore. I felt that I was draining myself and I was not being true, and I felt weak in her company. And I realized that I was trying so much to please her because I was trying to get her acceptance of me. I was trying to get her approval. So I was subservient to my own need for approval from others. Didn't really have too much to do with her. She was just playing her role and being herself, but it had to be with my unfulfilled need for being accepted and loved. And that's why I started pleasing her and doing everything I could to keep her good and to get her appreciation until I couldn't do it anymore. So I think when we are subservient in relationships with other people, when we are not true to ourselves in relationships with other people, it's always because we are trying to get something from the other. We have to be very honest to see it. It needs great honesty, this journey of inner, realization. It's the journey of the hero, we often say, but I need to see that if I'm subservient to a person, it's because I'm trying to get something from her or him. And I have to fulfill that inner need, not from another person, but I have to have it fulfilled through other means. And, through experiencing it, my love for myself, I need to love myself. I need to appreciate myself. So easy to speak about this, and it's like a cliche. I know we've all heard it a million times, but it's the key aspect. It's really what makes such huge difference. And that's what I felt on my journey on becoming truer to myself. This was the key aspect. It was learning to accept and appreciate myself. That was what really then helped me take the next steps. And in terms of the other situation that I mentioned, being subservient to the situation of, for example, having, too much workload and just being a slave to the tasks and always trying to accomplish so many things, too many things, and draining myself of energy. Again, I'm being subservient to the task because I'm trying to fulfill an inner need to feel worthy, feel valued. It's like my own self-worth is maybe built on the tasks that I'm doing. So if I accomplish them, and if I feel that I've accomplished a lot during the day, I feel okay with myself. Otherwise not. So I think to become completely true to ourselves, it requires me to let go of needing anything from anyone or anything from the outside. And it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the love and appreciation that comes my way. Of course, people will still love me and I will get love and appreciation. It's not like I say, no, I don't take it. No, not at all. But I can't be dependent on it. I can't, and that's just bonus. If someone loves me, great, but that's just bonus. It's like my foundation has to come from within. I have to love myself fully, 100%. I have to accept myself fully. And I think only then, and it's easy to speak about this, and it's not as if I'm there yet, not at all, but I'm working towards it because I think it's such freedom. I think it's such freedom when I'm not dependent on what other people think, or not dependent on getting something from others, but really being, valuing myself and living from that soft, powerful energy within. So being true to the self, what is it then? I mean, if I now want to work on being true to myself, what would I do to, practically? For me, during my journey of meditation and inner discovery, which has been going on for some years, I have come to experience more and more that I'm not the roles that I'm playing, and I'm not just this physical body, but I'm the precious energy, the consciousness within that has become clearer and clearer. And that the core of my being is not about the tasks that I accomplish or roles that I play, but it's actually all about the qualities of peace, love, power, and benevolence. And probably many more, but I mean, these four were something that I really feel is at the core of my being. And I feel that being true to myself is being true to those qualities. When I'm being true to peace, I'm being true to my inner peace. I'm being true to my love. I'm being true to my power. And I'm being true to my benevolence. It's not about being true to my opinions necessarily. I mean, as I said earlier on, opinions can change, ideas can change, and sometimes it's wise to go along with someone else's ideas. And, we have to be a bit, we have to understand the secrets of life and know how to read life situations. And we learn that with time, of course. But something that never changes is this peace, love, power, benevolence, this core of my being. And that's what I have to be true to. And I will just share with you the last image, which lists them up also. So being true to myself means being true to my core, and which is peace, love, power, benevolence, and more. And just in practical terms, I mean, what do we know? What do we mean? What do I mean if I say being true to my inner peace? What would that look like? There could be many examples, but one situation that I experienced very recently was that I was in a situation with a few others, and we were working on something together. And there was a lot of tension within the group. There was a lot of tension and negativity, and I could feel the tension building up. And I could make the conscious choice, and actually I did make the conscious choice. I'm not going to be part of the tension. I'm not going to involve myself too much in what's happening with the others, but I'm actually going to just be true to my inner peace and calm. And I'm going to just withdraw a little bit. And my contribution to the situation will just be peace and lightness and just good feelings. And I managed. Sometimes I managed to do it, sometimes not. But this time I did manage very well. And when I left the situation, I didn't feel drained. I didn't feel that I had been impacted in a negative way, like influenced in a negative way. I felt that I'd been able to really be stable in my peace and to contribute that peaceful energy. And it felt so good. And it really felt I had been true to myself by not, losing myself into the situation. This is just one example. I'm sure you can all think of examples where it may not be easy to be peaceful. And, we can easily get influenced. But when I managed to keep my inner peace and make that a priority, it feels really good. And it really feels like I'm in tune with this core of my being. Another quality there, love. And this is something I also experienced very recently. Of course, we can have those experiences every day. I'm sure all of us get tests or opportunities, let me say rather, every day to practice those. But recently, just a few days ago, I was at home and it was 8 o'clock in the evening and I was getting tired. I was, I still had to answer many, many emails and do much on the computer. And I was kind of thinking, should I get the tasks done and go to bed late and all of that? Or what? And I asked myself, if at this moment I was being true to the love within, if I was being true to love, what would I do? And it became so clear to me that, the thing to do in this situation was actually to say, no, okay, I will reply to the mails that I have to necessarily. The rest can wait. And what I did was to just express the love I have for myself. I went for a beautiful walk. Just went for a 40-minute walk close to my home in beautiful nature, and just feeling this soft feeling of love and not overdoing or, overloading myself with work, even if it meant that I would accomplish a bit less. And I was so happy also then to feel that I was being true to the love within, and that I was actually respecting myself enough to give myself the gift of going for this walk. And it really changed everything, the tiredness and feeling flat, feeling weak that I had been experiencing before. It just disappeared and I felt powerful and happy again. So I was being true to love, being true to power. It's also something that's interesting to experiment with. For me, a way of being true to my power has been, one example has been when I'm being asked to do things that I'm not sure if I can do. I may feel a bit insecure or afraid. But deep within I know, yes, I can do it. It will be okay. So I say yes to the thing that I'm being asked to do, even if I feel a bit insecure or afraid. And that's, to me, one aspect of being true to my power. Not to give in to my fear, not to be subservient to my fear or insecurity, but actually to say, I am powerful and I'm going to be true to my power. And that's why I say yes and I go for it. And then the last thing on the list is benevolence. And I put this word because it's one of my favorite words. It's one of my favorite qualities. And again, I'm not there yet, but it's definitely a quality that I love in others and that I would love to have to cultivate more and more in myself as well. And for me, these are incidents when I feel jealousy or I feel criticism or comparison or any of those feelings that are not of benevolence. And when I feel any of these feelings, I always find it good to remind myself that I actually use the sentence that my heart is the palace of a king. It's not the place of a beggar, it's the palace of a king. To switch my mindset from being jealous or comparative or being criticizing others, to switch into the feeling, the energy of benevolence. So I've been speaking a lot. I hope it hasn't been too much or too fast. And I hope my English has also been understandable for you. But I think now is time for a short meditation. It's always good and it's part of being true to the self. I think meditation is one of the main tools that has helped me personally, definitely. Because in meditation, it's the time when I connect with my true self. It's the time when I listen to myself and tune in with what is it that I really want. You know, meditation is the tool for that. It's the space that I give myself for that. And after that, there will be time for Q&A. But let us first just close our eyes for a moment. Just close your eyes wherever you may be. Allow the body to sit comfortably. I've come to the end of this week, Friday evening, and it's really good to just let go of whatever happened during the past week, the past days. I bring my awareness first to my breathing. Just observe my breathing. And as I breathe out, I imagine that I'm breathing out any energy of tiredness, anything that I've been holding on to from the week, from the past days. It's like I'm cleaning myself. I breathe out and I let go. It's as if the week is being washed out of my system, of my mind, body, soul. I breathe out and I let go. I can even say, in my mind, I can say the words, I let go. I choose not to hold on to anything. I let go. And I place myself completely in this moment. I'm fully present here and now. I resist the temptation to think about something else or to multitask. I'm just completely here and now with myself. And I imagine that within myself, there is beautiful energy, invisible energy. And this invisible, beautiful energy is the core of my being. And it's simply made of peace and love. Power and benevolence. Like an inner light that shines through my whole being. And I realized that being true to myself is about being true to those qualities. It's about being true to this beautiful energy within. It's about respecting this beautiful energy within. And tuning in with my true self, with the peace and love within. makes me so happy and light. And at this moment, I just let myself shine. I imagine this inner light reaching far and wide into the world. And over the next days, I can explore this further. I can continue to explore what it means to be true to the core of my being, to be true to love, true to peace, true to my power, true to benevolence. And now I gradually open my eyes. I can take a deep breath and come out from the meditation. We can still keep shining the inner light. We don't have to turn that off. Even if we have come out of the meditation, it's good to keep it shining. And now I think we will have some questions and answers.
Yes, thank you. That was beautiful. A number of questions have come in. Let's see how many we can cover this evening. The first one is, how do you know if you're being true to yourself, if you're naturally a reserved private person? For example, you're not necessarily deliberately hiding things from others. It's just who you are.
Very good question. I think for me, actually, I would say that I am a little bit like that in a way. It's, I like to be quiet, and sometimes I like to be reserved in a way when I'm with others. And it's not because I'm suppressing myself. It's just because I enjoy, that's just the way I am. And for me, the indicators, whether I know if I'm being true to myself or not, is the list that I talked about earlier on. If I'm feeling truly content, if I'm feeling satisfied, if I'm feeling respect, while being quiet and reserved, that's an indicator for me that I'm actually being true to myself. I also know the feeling of being reserved because I'm insecure and being a bit shy. And, I would actually maybe like to say something, I would like to come out more, but I'm feeling insecure. And during those moments, I won't feel content. I won't feel self-respect. So I don't know if that answers the question, but for me, just the feeling of contentment and self-respect is an indicator. Or if I'm not feeling that, I'm probably not being true to myself.
Thank you. Okay, next question. And it's a very interesting one because social media plays such a part in our lives today. So the question is, how can I become better at not having the life I want? That is the life I see others have, especially with social media. It makes me feel like I need to keep up with others.
Absolutely. I have sometimes, I take periods doing this. Unfortunately, I'm not doing it all the time, not yet, but I've taken periods where I switch off all smart, like computers, smartphones, everything, 8 o'clock in the evening. And I just spent time with myself without taking anything in from Facebook or Instagram or whatever, because I'm also using those tools. I mean, I know very well what you're talking about. But I feel that if I take time, so from 8 o'clock in the evening until 8 o'clock the next morning, that's really a time where I would like to be free from those influences and give myself some time when I'm just being with myself and I'm just exploring. That's something that people today have forgotten about. Just, how to even be bored is something that people are afraid of. So, and I feel that, as I've done this, my creativity has awakened. I am in much better tune with my inner self. I don't mean creativity necessarily in terms of music or arts, but just in terms of being creative in the way I live life. May just be going for a walk or baking a nice cake, or I don't know. But I would definitely, maybe minimize the have some time every day, if you can, where you are put all devices aside and just spend time with yourself without any information, taking in information and just seeing, exploring what's there. But it's challenging, I know.
Thank you. Practical tip, that step away from it all and just reconnect with yourself. Question. What if being true to yourself makes people around you take you for granted or think that you are naive just because of your inability to hide your true self?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's okay. I mean, that's part of it. And I think when I'm being true to myself, it may mean that not everyone will like me, or I will not be able to please everyone, but I will never be able to please anyone. And I think we just have to take the risk. I myself was, because I feel that I am a bit naive, maybe you could say. I don't know if naive is the right word, but sometimes I feel like that. Like I was telling Arti before in the chat, I like to play beautiful music. That's like Sound of Music, the movie was something that I loved, I guess that's a bit naive, but I mean, that's just how I am. And when I was a teenager and for many years, I was trying to look like being more clever or being, I don't know, knowing things that I didn't know, liking things that I didn't really like, But when I'm just being myself, I actually feel that people appreciate it more. They appreciate me more. They may not agree with me and they may feel differently, have different taste or whatever. But I'm not sure if I understood the question correctly or if this answer is satisfying. But I mean, for me, it's just a matter of, not everyone will like me and it's okay. If I like myself and I feel that my intentions are pure and I'm really living, the life that I'm meant to live, then that's okay. And people around me will like me or not, that's fine.
It's interesting, isn't it, that if you are living the life that you feel is true to your core, then even if people take you for granted, it actually doesn't matter. Because you already have that self-respect. I guess that's what you're underlining for us.
Exactly.
And yeah, it doesn't matter if there's people's opinions are their own opinions and they are entitled to them.
Exactly.
As long as I don't compromise my own self-worth or the core of my being. Wow, thank you. I hadn't seen it like that before. Next question. Great talk, thank you. Is being subservient the reason why we continue in bad and abusive relationships?
Absolutely. I would say so. Absolutely. And I think, as I was mentioning earlier on, if that's the case, before even looking at the relationship with the other person, me being subservient in an abusive relationship, it's definitely subservience. But before the relationships, I'm being subservient to a weakness within myself. And if I don't solve that, the root cause, I will always find another person who will abuse me. Even if I go out of the abusive relationship, which I probably definitely should, if I cannot transform it, I will have to do something to make changes. But I also need to make the internal change, because otherwise I will have people around me who abuse me in one way or another until I have solved my subservience to my own weaknesses. And this is connected with what I mentioned earlier on, that I cannot, if I have the neediness within of feeling the need to be appreciated, being loved, being wanted, the need to be important for someone else. This is something I know also very well. If there is this need, I will compromise myself to please the other. And I think self-discovery, what we are doing when we meditate, and especially with Raja Yoga meditation, which is all about, it's not so much about relaxation, I would say. It's so much about discovering the true self, the inner self, and stepping into our self-respect. And if I invest my energy, time and energy, a little bit of time and energy in that, I will start to see my subservience to my own weaknesses, and I will be able to overcome them step by step. It of course takes time, it's a journey. But the root cause is always within. And if my relationships are not, abusive, I need to really honestly face myself within also and see, where am I bowing down to my own weaknesses? And what is the need that I'm trying to fill myself with from another person, but actually I need to fill it. I myself need to fulfill that need.
Thank you. Next question. Can you give some advice on how to get in touch with your feelings and how to understand them?
Such good questions, actually, really good questions. For me, again, it's from my personal experience, it's very much about giving myself space to sit with myself and be courageous enough to not feel ashamed about my feelings, to be honest enough to accept whatever I'm feeling and kind of just sit with it. This was something that I had to work with a lot, because I always used to feel, when I started to meditate, I had this feeling of shame. And I had this feeling that I just wanted to suppress, and I just wanted to look good and, and kind of suppress things. But when I couldn't do that anymore, because as I told you earlier on, I was just feeling depressed and I couldn't really ignore my feelings anymore. There was a period when I just started really seeing, okay, there is jealousy, there is comparison, there is criticism, there is, whatever it is, there is great lack of love, there is unworthiness, all of these things that I had ignored and kind of not wanted to see within myself. And what a relief, because those are not bad. All the negative feelings are not bad. It's just an indicator that I'm lacking something, usually lacking love. So I need to accept the whole of me, not just the nice bit, but I need to accept the whole bit and to understand my feelings. I mean, again, it's my way in life, my journey is, the Raja Yoga philosophy, the meditation and what we learn through Raja Yoga. That's just my experience. It just gives a very clear understanding of the self, step by step. So if you want to go into depth of that, I would just recommend really going into the depth of Raja Yoga meditation. I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, and that's my experience of facing both the positive and powerful aspects of myself and daring to be powerful, daring to, let the beautiful qualities shine, but again, also facing the dark side and having some tools to, not just seeing, but having some tools to work with the dark side as well. It's I can't answer it. I mean, the time is too short now, but definitely the meditation and the understanding you can get when you explore it further.
Thank you. Gosh, yes, the questions are need quite a bit of time. So, all right, next one. Do you have any advice on how to find your purpose in life when you feel lost?
There was a time in my own life when I was lacking a sense of purpose and I wanted to do something. I think we all want to contribute in one way or another. And I think especially like people who are on this webinar today, I think people who are interested in something like this, you would like to contribute to the world and to your environment, because that gives a sense of a purpose when we contribute. And there was a time in my life when I felt that I wasn't contributing in the way that I would like. And I really felt, what is my role in life? What is my purpose? And I spoke with a good friend of mine, a meditator who had been meditating for many years, longer than me. And she said, rather than trying to find your purpose externally in doing things or trying to find what you should be doing or aiming for or things like this, that's popular today to have big goals or aims and try to achieve them. But she said, rather than doing that, go within and work with the subtle. And that's something that really has stayed with me for many years now, that if I want to find my sense of purpose in life, I need to kind of fix the subtle aspects. I don't know if fix is the right word actually, but I need to clean the inner self. And I need to work on the subtle aspects. If I'm feeling discontent, if I'm feeling lack of love, if I'm feeling insecure, all of those things, there is some inner work that needs to be doing. And from my experience, that's what I did. I felt, okay, I don't have to do anything, go out there and do something great or try to be someone or do something. I need to first get the energy within me right. And then things in life will happen naturally. And I've seen in my own life, amazing things have come about, actually. My life is completely different and many opportunities came. I think they came because there was inner shift. But I also know in today's world, I think for many people, they're a bit disheartened seeing all the, of course, COVID is one thing, but that's now getting better. But even just the climate change and all of the things that are happening, I think it's easy to get lost. I think it's easy to lose hope. But for me, like the main purpose has also been the understanding that when I transform the energy within, that's the best thing when I transform my consciousness and I make sure that it's giving, it's generous, it's peaceful, and it's loving. For me personally, that's my purpose in life. That's how I feel we will shift the world. It's the only way, actually. Can't go out and try to do something or change something. It has to start from within each individual changing his or her consciousness. So I find great purpose in just having the awareness that what I think, my attitudes, they matter. It's my contribution to the world. And when many of us come together and we explore these things and we practice changing our consciousness, it makes a huge impact. But it's important to have a group. I know that like Inner Space, which is hosting this webinar today, it's really good to attend, like to be with other like-minded people when you're living this inner purpose and of wanting to contribute, because you get inspired and you get support, the support you need. So for me personally, very important to be in the company of like-minded people who are exploring the inner self, and it motivates me a lot.
There are so many more questions, but I'm going to ask this last one question, I think, at this point, and that is, what kind of questions do you ask yourself to find out what you are being subservient to within yourself?
Yeah, this is again a good question. Very deep questions tonight. I think what I would say is that I look at them, like I see it reflected in a person, in a relationship or in a life situation. Life is such a good mirror, and that's wonderful, actually. We can't really get away with being, subservient to, we will always see it reflected, which is very helpful. So what I would do is just to take my life at this moment, at this point in time, and I see what's happening. I see my relationships, and I see where I'm being subservient in a particular relationship or a life situation, like I mentioned earlier on. I may be a workaholic, for example, and some situation where I'm being subservient, and then I take it back to myself, and I ask myself, what am I trying to get from that person or that situation? What am I trying to get from them? Because I'm being slave to them because I'm trying to get something. If I wouldn't be trying to get anything, I would be free. I would be free to just be me and be powerful and be true to myself. So the question I just asked me is, what am I trying to get? Why am I dependent on this person or this situation? Where is this dependency coming from? So I think, that has worked for me. And honesty. I need to be so honest for this.
Stefanía, thank you so, so much. And we look forward to having you back.
Thank you.
Thank you.